Welcome to This Week in Podcasting, where we discuss this week's most exciting podcasting news and tips, all in under 10 minutes. This episode is provided by Sounder.fm, the smarter way to podcast. Let's get started. This week, we cover exciting global podcasting news, including the answer to last week's quiz. Which police department is bringing true crime to a whole new level? How to sound more confident and persuasive? Which college just added podcasting to their English department? And a healthy dose of inspiration. Last week, we asked you to guess which country is the second largest market for podcasts. If you guessed Brazil, you're right. The country's downloads are bigger than the UK and Australia combined, according to Podcast Stats Soundbites by Blueberry. But it wasn't always like that. Blueberry's data, which looks at over 750,000 podcasts, tracks Brazil's impressive growth. In 2009, Brazil wasn't really on any podcast market radar, floating between 13 and 20 in most downloads per country. That all changed when their downloads grew by triple digits year over year in 2010 and 2011. The country's average Q4 year-over-year growth rate for podcast media downloads is an astonishing 127% for the past decade, reports Blueberry. Don't mind us, we're just brushing up on our Portuguese.
To be perfectly honest with you, didn't eat no breakfast this morning.
In other global podcasting news, Ireland is coming in hot. People always talk about the whole storytelling thing and how Irish people love to talk, says Alan Bennett, founder of the popular Irish network Headstuff Podcast Network. He told the Irish Times that it was always going to happen here. Let's rewind a bit. When the medium first started taking off in Ireland, listeners were hooked on hit American shows like Serial. But with the help of Irish media organizations, podcasting networks, and creatives wanting to carve out their own space in the industry, podcasting surged. Flick through the Apple Podcast charts on any given day, and you will see that Irish podcasts are among the most popular in the country, says Amy O'Connor, writer for the Irish Times. Seriously. The Good Glow, the Blindboy Podcast, the Johnnies Podcast, the David McWilliams Podcast, the Laughs of Your Life, and The Stand with Eamon Dunphy are regular fixtures in the top 10. Our team at Sounder is thrilled to see all of these markets and voices rise to the top. This just in, true crime just got real, as in NYPD has a podcast. Former NYPD Detective Edward Conlon is the host of Break in the Case, a half-hour-long podcast that offers a glimpse at what real-life detectives and officers do during an investigation. The first 5 episodes surround the case of baby Hope, the 4-year-old found dead in a cooler on the side of the Henry Hudson Parkway in Manhattan. According to Conlon, detectives paid for her funeral and headstone at St. Raymond's Cemetery in the Bronx. It took more than 2 decades to make an arrest. It's no secret that listeners have an affinity for the gut-wrenching genre, but NYPD also thought it would fit well with our desire to tell stories in the words of our own officers, says Jill Bowerl, executive producer of Break in the Case. News 12 reports their next miniseries will return to the public for clues in an unsolved murder in Gravesend. Next up, how to sound more persuasive. Maybe your podcast is a stream of consciousness or tells a story rather than trying to persuade your listeners of something. But this trick stands to make you sound more confident when talking about ads or sponsorships too. Every time we interact with someone, we're trying to figure out how much they know about what they're saying, how knowledgeable they are, how confident they seem, says Jonah Berger, an associate professor of marketing at Wharton and a co-author of this new study called How Voice Persuades. He also told the New York Times that humans have a built-in persuasion radar and push back when we feel like someone is trying to influence us. The trick to getting past this persuasion radar and sounding more confident? Speaking up. It sounds simple, but Berger explains. We tend to look at speakers who vary their volume as more confident, which translates into an increase in their persuasiveness, according to the study. Next time you record an episode, give it a shot. So how hip is Southern Illinois University? The English department has evolved its curriculum to include podcasting. Professor Pickney Benedict told the Daily Egyptian, SIU's student news site, that the creative writing program had primarily been an on-the-paper kind of program, but the teaching staff has observed the surge of virtual reality, gaming, audiobooks, and podcasting, and wants to allow students to explore narrative through these evolving genres. The podcasting lab was created last year thanks to innovation grants from the SIU Foundation, which anyone in the faculty can apply for. And guess what? Enrollment in the school's English department has gone up since. Random Podcasting Thought of the Week is a healthy dose of inspiration. James Kim, host of a new fictional podcast titled Moonface, never intended to make money off it. "I just want to make art," he tells a former colleague. In fact, Kim took out a personal loan and spent savings just to pursue this passion project. The really exciting thing is, Moonface has quickly become an industry favorite. It's a story of a Korean-American son, Joel Kim Booster, who wants to come out to his mom, Esther Moon, but can't because they don't speak the same language. Kim's podcasting story is such a powerful reminder. Have fun, do what you love, and set your intention on making the greatest work you can. People will listen. If you want to give Moonface a listen, we linked to it in the show notes. That's all we have for you this week. Keep creating.